improvement. This is the best feature of AI, that it learns from itself. So, as and when I remember, like initially when we were using AI, many a times it used to happen that the accuracy was not that correct. But if you would have noticed now, the accuracy is becoming more and more and more because it has the feature of continuous improvement and continuous learning in place. So that's why it is exploding. Because I mean, if I read that it's saving me money, it's saving me time, it's saving me the hassle, it's giving me more ideas. What more could I have, anyone would on the board have asked for? So that's why SaaS AI solutions are exploding, and you don't even have to develop them. They all run in a browser, or they have their own specific requirements, and you don't have to do any development. Everything is just available at very throwaway cheap prices because of the competition. But they say that anything which looks too good, be beware of it, because there are always hidden risks. And there's a common saying, when someone is, giving anything for free in the field of technology, then you are the product. So basically they want your data. That's why everything is given free. There was a Ghibli art, very famous viral trend that came like last year, I think. The whole intent was that they wanted, for facial recognition, they wanted more and more images of people coming, and they were eventually training their own model. So they were asking people to upload more image, and they would give them a very you know colorful and very different kind of image generated out of it. But the whole purpose was, they were giving you the image for free, but eventually they were training their data set for so many more images, and they could have eventually sold that image database with so many mapping points to some agency, and would have charged them. So it's always, when something is given for free, you are the product. So whether it's for ChatGPT, whether it's for Gemini, whether it's for Ghibli, for any tool, there are risks. So when I talk about risks, there are data privacy and confidentiality risk, which is the first and the major risk, and something which is taking a lot of attention these days. So this is like one of the major risks, because as I mentioned, they are training data, and the data, as we always say, what goes online once is never private. Anything which goes online cannot be deleted ever. So on the same lines, they are kind of training their models with our data. Now they know that how many people in this specific region, what they are searching for, what they would want. They would target advertisements like that. They will show you products like that, so that the conversion rate is higher. So there is a whole industry about it. If you see, there are a lot of documentaries around it. Unauthorized access to sensitive customer information. See, we say that our ecosystems are secure, but if there is something which is, accessing your data, accessing your, microphone, accessing your camera, then they can be having unauthorized access to sensitive information, which you might not even know. So that's a big risk. And then data contamination risks, because there are a lot of times that they mix up data, and the various kinds of data are mixed up, and the data is no more what it was supposed to be. So if it was supposed to look like A, now it's looking like B. So they kind of do that. Algorithmic bias and fairness. So we all know about this, that the AI runs on algorithms, and these algorithms are, I wouldn't say they are new algorithms or not tested, but they are still learning. So there are multiple cases where there have been bias towards based on gender, based on color. There have been examples. There have been, I think Gemini was one of them, where there was a good amount of discussion which happened on racial discrimination, because these algorithms just train themselves on what they get. So if they will be fed on things which are blue in color, and not things which may be a yellow in color, for them, they will start looking at the world from a blue lens. Just think of it like that, and then they become biased. um, Training data, as I mentioned, that training data representing historical prejudices. Because if the training data if you know, they say that what you become is because of your upbringing or because of the environment you live in. Same for AI. So what they become, or what they output they give, is based on the inputs that have been given to them, or the kind of training data that they have been given. And opacity, because we don't know the algorithm, we don't know how the algorithm is running, so there is always an opacity between the AI algorithm and the end user, and there is no accountability. So if AI gives you something wrong, maybe it's coming from their model, but they will not be accountable for it, which is something that is eventually solving itself, but not yet completely solved. Security vulnerabilities, as we know that security vulnerabilities are basically the attacks. By AI also is what it's code. Anything which is code will be vulnerable to attacks. So AI again is, vulnerable to attacks. There can be various kind of attacks because someone can manipulate the model itself. So the model can behave inversely. If the model has to, kind of give support to poor people, it will start supporting the rich people. Maybe if I say from my industry where I come in, it has to provide assistance to the famine affected people in a poor people, and somebody tweaks it, or maybe there is some flaw, and then I should say tweak it only because it is adversarial attack. Then it will start giving the money to the wrong set of people, and eventually the people who should have profited will not profit. Second is prompt injection. Just like we used to had SQL injection before, because SQL was the database. Now AI, where we write the prompt, is the database. So anyone can write prompt in a manner that it brings us some confidential information from somewhere. So if I write a prompt, let's suppose for some confidential information coming from some US internal agency, which to US or any other country for that matter, and I write a code like that in the prompt injection, it will search the internet, it will search everything in its model data, and it will bring me that information. So that is a prompt injection. And supply chain compromise, because AI in itself is not standalone. There are hardware components, there are other things. So supply chain is always one of the what should we say, weak areas. So supply chain, maybe, if somebody is providing the chips or the hardware or the processors for the AI, maybe those can have something embedded in them, maybe a malware or something like that, which can cause a lot of damage. Compliances. So, as we know, and will is the topic of this discussion, is the compliances. So, till now, the compliances we had, like GDPR, CCPA, and maybe even ISOs or other compliances that we have, they are majorly around technology. They are not around fairness, biasness, ethical use, purpose limitation, which are the things that are concerning AI, because AI is not just technology, it is technology plus ethics plus a lot of things. So, our compliance and regulatory um, mechanisms which were there till now were are not sufficient, because they are not trained to answer automated decision making. They are not trained to answer something which, you know will then we never know what the tool will respond. And then of course there are documentation gaps and audit trail, because for AI generally, I would say it's still a new keyword. Most of the tools and most of the technologies and most of the implementation in organizations are very hurried, and there is not sufficient documentation or gap analysis which is done to make sure that the gaps are identified and answered. And operational resilience. So this is one important risk, because if you vendor lock-in is a problem with everything. So even if I have a Microsoft laptop, then also there is a vendor lock-in problem. If I have a let's suppose any specific tool, I mean Adobe PDF, or any specific vendor partner, for example Apple, it was a well-known example, because if once you take an Apple thing, then you have to take everything from Apple, because there is a vendor locking. They have made like that. They have their dedicated charger, they have dedicated wires, they have their dedicated ecosystem, and then they have dedicated drive, which is not very what should I say, not very open and not very collaborative with the other world. I mean, open sources, of course, because they don't want to be open source, but otherwise it's not very collaborative. Now, moving ahead, there is service degradation. At times, there are some things that the model is not working for me. There can be that also. So in that case, the model requires continuous validation, and we need to make sure that all these risks of AI are taken into consideration. All right. So my screen is shared. I just want to check if there is any question or anything. No. All right. So, real world breaches. So, till like last year or even before that, it was all like majorly a research area and it was all in discussion. But if we see, especially in the last year and this year, or even in the beginning of the 2024, end of 2024, there were like breaches which were identified, and I am giving you some examples. So this is the unauthorized face access. So see, I was telling you about that, right? Because you are giving your face information to the some platform, and then that platform has the face information, and everything is nowadays um, opens by face recognition. So if imagine if somebody is having your facial patterns and you are putting so many images, then they can map those points on your face and kind of make those images. So that's something that has happened, and this was a very known case. There was a responsible disclosure prevented data compromise. The vulnerability was patched and the users were informed, and this was one of the earlier like attacks seen in the AI infrastructure. Then comes the replicate platform vulnerability. Again, I have taken example of a SaaS provider. Now here there was a technical vulnerability in which the tenant isolation was allowing for potential unauthorized access to all customer AI prompts and inference results. So anything which the customer was asking and any result which was going was kind of open. It was not private, I should say. So it was open. So definitely, if it was open, then customer data was compromised. Somebody was knowing what the customer is searching, what they are knowing. There was customer data leaked. All those things were there, and these risks were identified and they were closed in the AI SaaS platforms. And this one is on the SAP, which is we all know that which is one of the biggest enterprise grade software provider. Almost all companies use SAP data for HR and human resource management. So there was a vulnerability in SAP where there was an API key that was compromised to access HANA databases, and there was millions and billions of data which was exposed. And then because it is used to manage sensitive data, as I mentioned, the HR data and the hiring data and all the employee data at times, and even their payrolls and salary slips and everything. So internal customer data was leaked. The vulnerability was identified, patched, and this again, this is an example of SaaS plus supply chain, because this is not a cloud-based solution. This is something which is a complete platform that gets into your existing systems. So this is an example, and this was called SAP was Pond. So this was named as SAP Pond. There's one critical insight that all these, um, even the biggest of the organizations like SAP, Microsoft, Google, you name it, like I could have had more examples, but in the interim of time, and I wanted to have all examples from different categories, I have taken these examples. So as you can see that these platforms, either they have vulnerabilities at the tenant level, majorly at the supply chain level, or maybe because of the data is not sufficiently protected. So maybe that's why the governance control of AI are very important. Just this technology controls will not suffice. We need to have AI governance in place. Now, coming here, why? ISO 27001 is not alone. I assume that the audience will have an insight into ISO 27001, which is one of the leading uh, compliance standard for technology for information systems, and it is called ISMS, Information System Management Services. And in this, basically, we have various domains, and in each domains we have multiple controls to make sure that the control or the validation lies equally into all the domains, and all the controls are checked, and our software and overall practice of software in an organization, or information security within an organization, is taken care of, whether it's HR, whether it's hiring, whether it's data center, whether it's software development, whether it's mm, whatever you can think of, email security. So it's a very comprehensive um, uh, portfolio of controls as to 27001, and one of the leading market leaders. So if I think that, like, for more than almost 2 decades now, this has been one of the leading standards, and it is still a leading standard for information security. But it does not solve the AI gaps, because it was never made for AI. It was made for information security management of the traditional IT systems, which do not have the problems with AI, like, I'll be talking shortly. So that's why ISO 27001 alone isn't enough. If you are running an IT company, or if you're running an IT, if you are a IT solution developer in an organization, or maybe you are in the board, then definitely ISO 27001 is not enough if you are using anything related to AI or developing anything related to AI. Just to give you an example, in ISO 27001, we have a standard coverage. We have access control, who can access what, least privilege, just in time, need to know. So, all these kind of standard access controls we have. Then we have encryption protocol, depending on the type of encryption, depending on the type of communication, what encryption will apply, what will be the key size, how will key management happen. All those things will come into picture. Then standard incident response, how incidents will be reported, how will be they taken care of, how triage will happen, how, post incident learning, and there's a specific process for incident response. And the standard audit procedures, how are we going to audit, how are we going to make sure that there is a make a check a trail in place, how are we going to make sure, like, zero trust principles and all those kind of things we have in this standard. Now, while this is all good, this is like super best with respect to technology, but what about bias? How does ISO 27001 talk about bias? It doesn't, which is one of the biggest problem of AI. That's why there's another standard which came, which is called ISO 42001, which is basically an ISO standard which caters to the requirements of AI related governance. And it has like a lot of additional things which were not there in ISO 27001. So just the things that we talk about in the AI risks, hidden risks of AI slide, the same things it caters to. So there is a life cycle governance, like end to end AI life cycle governance, from AI deployment to AI, from AI deployment to implementation to usage to governance. So there is a end to end life cycle governance. Then it talks about things like bias detection. If how to identify bias, how to make sure that the bias is detected, and how to mitigate that bias. Then model explainability requirements, that which model we are using, how the model is being trained, which data is used for training the model, is the data, what kind of data it is, what kind of data classification it carries, is this, um, if this is personal data, then how do we take care of that? Do we use personal data for model training or not? If we are using, how do we save that data? So those kind of things were never in ISO 27001. Then training data, what data can we use for training? Can we use real data for training, or there has to be dummy data for training, and all those kind of things? And adversarial attack protection, just like the normal system, we need to have cybersecurity controls and various controls. Similarly, in AI 42001, we need to have controls for adversarial attack on the AI. Basically, anything which is created to make the AI behave or provide malicious output. So all those things are not a part of ISO 27001, and probably that's the reason why we need a specific standard of ISO 42001 in place. As you know, I just thought that I will mention it, that anyone who has idea of ISO 27001 needs to be, needs to brace themselves, because ISO 42001 is just like a successor of ISO 27001. So if you know ISO 27001, it will just take a little bit of effort from your side to do ISO 42001, and probably, be ready for the auditing of or implementation, for that matter, certifications of AI based systems. ISO 42001, is anyone doing it? Yes, and I have some real success stories. So this is the first RPO, like BPO, like just like BPO, we have RPOs, which are resource providing offices. So this was one of the organization to get ISO certified. The good thing why I took this, because it's not like, it takes years and years. It just took 3.5 months to get certified, and they have 50 plus AI systems with zero non-conformities, which is a good thing that 50 plus systems were certified. Business impact, they have a formalized AI governance. They can show that certification that they are certified, and which in turn is going to get them a differentiated in the market, and they can have more client trust. So these are some of the benefits if you get certified. Then Melbourne FinTech Financial Services. This is again, a different kind of example. So they secured a 3.2 million contract requiring ISO certification. So they secured the contract, but they had to provide that to kind of get the PO. So they were given, sorry, they were given 5 months from kickoff to certification. They resolved all the queries, they resolved all the credit models, they satisfied the Series B investor and everything, and then they were within 5 months they were certified. Moving ahead, sorry for that. I think there are some questions also. A good question, and sorry for that. I'm not sure if Cape Gemini, Accenture, but I think IBM is ISO 42001 certified. So going, all right. So moving on to AI clearing, the construction technology company, which is the world's first ISO 42001 certification. Okay, so this is the achievement which I have mentioned here, that they were the first in the world to get 42001 certification. It's, my throat is not working.
It's okay, Sima. You can take a few minutes break if you want to have some water or something.
I think Gauri, I'm almost done. Maybe if someone can, if anyone wants to ask question, they can ask. I don't have hot water with me right now, so if someone wants to ask question, maybe I can answer that.
Sure, we can move forward to the question and answer session. Meanwhile,
Okay, I was saying I was too clear and nobody
so
wants to. Yeah,
there is
I
one
think there is.
question.
Yeah.
I want to be ISO 42001 certified. What are pre-qualifications I need to have?
I think just like any other ISO certification, it would be requiring some experience, which will be like 5 years, and to get the certification, and then after that there is an exam which happens, so you can give that exam and you will be able to clear it.
Thank you so much for that answer, Seema. Let's see if we're getting any more questions.
So I have my last slide, I think, which is not very heavy also. So this is on the timeline. So I just wanted to highlight that when we are doing an ISO certification, how do we, like, what is the journey? So first we have to understand the organization context. Then we have to do a gap analysis. So if I think about it from AI specific perspective, so we have to do think about AI specific threats that include the bias, that include the mitigation strategies. Then we have the AI system life cycle. How are we going to design, train, validate, deploy, and even decommission? So for any software, we have to think about decommissioning. Then we have the training and the model management. So this is very interesting because when I was reading it, because I have seen version tracking in software, but this was a learning for me that there is a version tracking happening in the model as well. So whenever an AI model is developed, then these models kind of um, grow themselves. So there are version tracking of the AI models as well, which are happening. And then, of course, incident response is very, very important, and the continuous performance management is very, very important. So this is like a very easy thing to kind of implement, to kind of do, because this is this is something more than just technology. So definitely this requires more effort, and this requires more understanding of something which which you don't know, which is unpredictable. So AI is unpredictable because the responses are coming from the system itself, so that's why it becomes little complex. But I think with complexity and with tough situations, you learn more. So that's where I will end my session, and I will open this to everyone for this. So someone has a question. What is the cost of the certification for our company? What is the timeline? We are a startup. Okay. So if you are thinking of it from an organization perspective, so as my answer will be simple, there is no fixed cost for AI specifically, because in an organization we can have a small scale organization, we can have a medium scale organization, we can have a large scale organization, then we can have an IT focused organization, even a small organization. But maybe that small organization is using 100 tools. Maybe it's providing some financial services, it is doing some financial modeling, it is using very complex kind of tools. Vis-a-vis, there can be a large organization which just runs on 2 or 3 tools. Maybe somebody who is, I mean, I'm not here to judge anyone, but maybe someone who is delivering vegetables, maybe they will kind of use just 2 3 tools and few manual resources to run their business. So it all depends. There has to be a scoping that has to be done in this case, like how many tools you are using, how many resources are there, what are all the data points which are there, what are all the data sets which are there, and so on and so forth. And most importantly, which industry you belong to, because there are different compliances for different industries. So that also has to be taken into consideration. So if it is IT, then the cost of certification is going to be different. If it is non IT, then the cost of certification is going to be different. I hope I was able to answer your question.
Thank you so much, Seema, for that insightful answer. And yes, I also hope that it answered Manish's question. So the chat box is now open for the question and answers, and make sure you guys are connecting with Seema on LinkedIn. And if you would like to, drop her or ask her any questions, even in the future, I'm sure like she will be happy to answer it. And now let's see if we're getting any more questions in the chat box.
So my throat is really, they are giving my throat rest. Thank you. Yeah, guys, please ask question if
I
anyone
think
has
so.
any question.
Yeah, like you don't really have to worry about Seema's throat anymore. So this could be a chance to get your answers directly from the expert. Satha Vahan says that responsible AI and AI governance are interconnected. Yeah, he's asking.
Responsible AI and AI governance. I would say yes. Responsible AI is one of the key pillars for AI governance, because AI governance says that you should be using AI responsibly. So they are all interconnected, because if somebody is using if somebody will govern, they will first see whether you are using it responsibly or not. Are you not misusing it? So yes, that's connected.
Thank you so much for that answer, Seema. Let's see if we're getting any more questions.
Okay, I have a question. Is there anyone here who is not using AI? Because I am really keen on meeting people now who don't use AI.
That's really tough, but let's see, like, if any one of you is not using AI, then you can drop your reasons for it, and you can just simply, like, reply in the chat box if it's a yes or no. I guess there's hardly anyone who is
Hmm.
not using AI these days.
So
So
that's why the governance of AI is even more important, because we are using something, we have given so much power to a tool. We don't know anything about what that tool is doing in the background, where our data is going, but still everyone is using it. Yeah, that's what I wanted to highlight.
Sattavahan also says responsible AI is something the developer should use while developing AI system. I don't know if that's a question.
Yeah, maybe he's trying to highlight that, responsible AI, but is something that the developer should be using while they are doing development, because it's the responsibility of the developer, or maybe even the user, to use AI responsibly. Like, we give this kind of best practice within our organization, that don't put any personal data on AI. Make sure that you are, not putting any organization data on AI. So I think it is on both. But it is only the governance. If there will be no governance, trust me, no one will be doing it. If there will be, the developer will be let free, that you can develop whatever you are going to do, and there is no checks and balances in place, then even the developer will not do it. So ideally, yes, it is the responsibility of developer and anyone who's using AI for that matter, but it is the governance which makes sure that this is done. And yes, AI policing, I mean, we don't call it policing, but you're monitoring the use of AI and defining the boundaries on the use of AI within an organization. I would like to call it like that and not policing. Defining those boundaries and making sure that those boundaries are being catered to. So I think, yeah, if we use Copilot and it's permitted by company IT staff, we upload some time document to create some. Yeah, Copilot, if it is allowed by your office, I don't know, again, which kind of the size of the office, but if generally for the big organizations, if there is Copilot, then it is on a private tenant. So whatever you give to Copilot will remain within your private cloud information bucket, and that is not shared with Copilot to train the larger Microsoft AI system. So that's how large organizations are doing.
Thank you so much for that answer, Seema. I feel it is challenging task to control AI usage, how we can do and how we can audit AI usage in organization.
So definitely, one is the standard that we are talking about, that we can have these standards to have end-to-end framework, because we can have one tool but that will not do everything. So we can follow a process, we can have all the controls listed from the standard, and we can check like where are we sitting on the standard, and then we can develop processes and checklist. Another is a short but not a full-fledged approach, is there are tools available from leading organizations that you can deploy in your ecosystem, and you can make sure what is allowed. So when user will be clicking on chat gpt, he will not be able to land on chat gpt. So at least these SaaS based tools user will not be able to land on to, but then there are always alternatives to get out of that. So that is not a foolproof solution, I would say, but one of the easy solutions is that you have a URL checking or a AI checker in place, and anyone within your organization who's trying to go in the AI URL, they will not be allowed to land there in your device.
Thank you so much for that answer as well, Seema. And I'm trying to see if we are having any more questions coming up. So yes, like as I have said already, like to those who are like looking forward to connect with Seema, I'm sharing her LinkedIn once again over the chat box. Even in case in future you would like to ask her any question related to the ISO, then feel free to reach out to her. And I guess yeah, like these were the questions we had so far, Seema. And I want to let you know that it was a very insightful and in-depth session. And we would definitely be delighted to have you here sometime again. And before we call this session off, would you like to give us any final statement?
Yeah, thank you, Gauri. And apologies for my throat because I've been speaking throughout the day. So this was a tough day for me. And thank you for giving me this opportunity and letting me challenge my own boundaries, for because I had to, prepare and I had to come with all the questions in my mind. So it was a really learning opportunity for me, and I really look forward to more of them. And thank you everyone for listening to me with such a bad throat. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Seema. It was once again, as I said, very insightful. And yes, I will be making couple of announcement for the attendees. So yes, thanks for your patience. So if you're looking forward to opt for the certificate, you're getting a 20% discount because you're attendee of this session. So you can visit our website, gsdccouncil.org, and get more information over there. And I'm also sharing links in the chat box. And GSDC has also launched a utility tool that helps you make your professional visibility on the next level and helps you open doors to the global opportunities. It is 100% off for all the exclusive webinar attendees. All you have to do is the use code AUG100, and I'm also sharing more details in the chat box. And yes, this is something that we are looking forward to, that in the first week of March we will be celebrating the Women's Day, and we are having amazing panel discussion, learning and leadership opportunities coming in there. So if you would like to register yourself, please go ahead and do that, and I'm also sharing more details about it in the chat box. And tomorrow we will be having Hanim Iken, and she will be giving us insightful session on governing AI training and upskilling programs with ISO 42001, 10:30 p.m. SGT, 8 p.m. IST. So make sure you're part of this second session aligned for this week too. And followed by the AI sessions that we are having throughout the week. So if it's something that interests you, you can be a part of it too, along with the learning and development series that we have aligned for this week. Now it's time to celebrate our referral champions, Astik Saxena, Rakesh Ranjan, and Bandi Hemant. If you would like to be one of the referral champions and earn vouchers worth $400 from GSDC, all you have to do is invite your coworkers, colleagues, and communities in one of these sessions and give your referral code. And as soon as you start to climb up the leaderboard, you earn vouchers worth $400 from GSDC. And if you would like to be a part of any learning capsule, podcast, and this one of the sessions, you can reach out to me on covery@gsdccouncil.org, and I'll be more than happy to get you started from there. Lastly, we would love to connect with you, so make sure you're following us on LinkedIn. You can also visit our website, gsdccouncil.org. You can join the exclusive WhatsApp group that keeps you updated with all the sessions happening throughout the month and the year ahead. And if you could kindly share your session takeaway and learning outcome on reviews.io, we would be delighted to read them. And yes, with this, yes, Satvahan, I'm sending you the more details in the chat box. So Seema, once again, thank you so much for being part of today's session. And everyone, have a good day and good night ahead. I will be seeing you tomorrow. Thanks once again, everyone, including Seema.
Thank you. Bye,
Thank you.
everyone. Thank you.